glasses off. All right, so let's talk about ABGs. We know from things that we talked about previously that when you look at a blood gas, it's an evaluation of pH, the PCO2, the PO2, which is the oxygen level in the blood. Then we've got the bicarbonate level, and then we've got a calculation called a base excess. Okay. In order to actually interpret an ABG, you only need 3 pieces of information off a blood gas. And oxygenation has nothing to do with it, okay? Because you're looking at acid-base imbalances. So let's go back and just review the simple parts. The pH normal range is 7.35 to 7.45. If it's 0.35 and below, then it's what? It's an acidic an acidic condition, okay? If it's 7.45 or greater, it's alkaline or basic, okay? When we're talking PCO2, that is the respiratory side of acid-base balance, okay? The fastest way for the body to create a compensation and get pH and everything else within normal is to either increase or decrease respirations, all right, which will either increase the elimination of CO2 or decrease the elimination of CO2 and cause it to rise. Normal range is 35 to 45, okay? And then last but not least is the bicarbonate level. Now bicarbonate is the metabolic side of acid-base balance. The normal range varies. I think the one y'all are used to here in Atlanta is 22 to 26, but it can be anywhere from 21 to 28, all right? On a test, it's going to be 22 to 26, okay? Unless they tell you something different, obviously. And you know how things happen to change around here? Okay. So I'm just going to say, for the purpose of today, we're going to use 26 to 28. Okay? No, 22 to 28 is what we're going to use today. Okay? Because 28 on where I got these problems from is considered normal. Okay? That's why I said you always got to go with whatever your facility says. That's what you go with, okay? But in order to be able to solve these problems and get them right, we got to go with 22 to 28, okay? 22 to 26 for a test. Any examination you take at this college for a bicarbonate level should be 22 to 26, okay? That's correct. Y'all need to understand, okay? Normal range varies on where the results are generated, okay? At Cobb and all of the Wellstar systems, it appears that they use 22 to 26. All my life, where I've come from, it was 22 to 28, okay? And that's where most of these examples come from, is from my past work experience. So, I've got to kind of go with, because if we don't use that normal range for these values, then you'll have a lot of trouble trying to figure out what it is, okay? So that's why I chose that range. It wasn't just to be, this particular hospital right here said that their normal bicarbonate is 24 to 28, okay? So, it just depends on the facility. All right. Now, this is what I call the memory chart, okay? For one simple reason alone, you need to memorize this chart, all right? Or make a copy of it and carry it with you in your nurse binder that you create for yourself, so that you'll always have this to help you remember what you're doing, okay? Yes, ma'am?
There's a good acronym for that also.
Okay, let's hear it.
ROME, R-O-M-E, respiratory opposite, metabolic equal.
Yes, that would be all right.
So
Okay. All right, so let's talk about Rome, okay? Thank you for that. I hadn't heard that before. All right. So, if we've got for respiratory alkalosis, if we have a pH that's low, meaning it's less than 7.35, they're what? Acidotic or alkalotic?
Acidotic.
Okay, so what weight, and then for it to be respiratory, look at what's happening. pH is dropping, and what's CO2 doing? It's going up, okay? So when it's respiratory, pH drops, and CO2 goes in the exact opposite direction. Okay, they're opposite one another, right? Which is exactly what Susan said. So when you're dealing with a respiratory issue, as pH goes one direction, PCO2 does the other. Okay, and the exact corollary of that is true. If pH is rising, all right, and it's going over 7.45, what should PCO2 be doing?
Go down.
It should be going down, right? And if we go down here to, where did it go? Respiratory alkalosis, look at what's happening. Exactly that. All right, does that make sense? Now, here's the really fun part. If you're dealing with metabolic problems, as pH goes down, meaning it's acidotic, then bicarbonate goes in the exact same direction. Okay? And this is going to be the key to figuring out what kind of problem you're dealing with. All right? 90% of the time. So, I could go over this and we could go, just go on and on about that, but I like your mnemonic. Thank you for that. Do you mind if I steal that? All right.
Sell it to you.
Ooh, a capitalist mercenary nurse in the making. Oh. All right, so what I just said, all right, it's the exact same thing. The
They
astrobasics.
go in different directions.
If the pH goes down, then PCO2 should be rising, and the opposite occurs. If it's metabolic, they're going to go in the same direction, either both down or both up. If they're both down, it's acidotic. If they're both up, it's alkalotic. All right? Now, let's talk about the concept of compensation. Remember that pH is on a continuum, all right? I don't have a pen again, do I? Nope, of course not.
Probably not.
Nope. All right, so if pH is on a continuum, and we really want stuff to be, just absolutely hunky-dory wonderful. Hope nobody needed that. You did? Oops, you're screwed.
It's down.
All right. All right. So we have this nice little continuum from acid to basic. All right. So if PCO2, okay, if we have a pH of 7.34, okay, is that acidic or what? Or is it normal? It's acidic. But how close is it to normal? It's just a little off, right? Just a little off, low. All right. Now, if we've got a PCO2 of 49, all right, which is just a little high, right? Okay. So, what are we trying to do here? What do you think is going on in the body? Well, it's respiratory, yeah, but what do you think the rest of the body is going to try and do? It's trying to get back to normal. So what is you have a fast response system, which is respiratory, and you have a slow response system, which is metabolic, or the kidneys, okay? So it wouldn't be unusual to see that the bicarbonate level is trying to rise a little bit too. Because remember, if bicarbonate rises, then is that doing what? It's making it more basic, right? And if you've got an acidic condition and you make it a little bit more basic, it does what? It compensates and tries to pull the 7.34 back into normal range. So we could have like a 29 bicarb, all right, and you would call this a respiratory acidosis with metabolic compensation, okay? All right? Because the body is trying to compensate to pull the pH back to normal. All right? Yes, ma'am?
So, however long, whatever period of time you would wait and test that again, and it was within the normal pH, would you expect the bicarb and the PCO2 to drop back to normal?
Well, once I got my pH into normal range, then I would start to see one of these start to renormalize, okay, or not continue to rise. In that particular circumstance, it just depends on how well the kidneys are functioning